Hello everyone, I'm back again with my friend Diet Wave for another 7 Seeds analysis video. If you've never heard of 7 Seeds or need a refresher on what the main plot is, please go back and watch my video that covers Arc 1 of the manga. I'll try to put that up around here as a card link if I remember. For Arc 2, we're going to be covering the early spring arc, which are chapters 6 through 9. For reference, this arc starts at the second chapter of Volume 2 and runs to the first chapter of Volume 3. It covers the introduction of Team Spring and all of its characters. What am I doing with this video? I'll be doing the same thing as last time, where I'll be asking Diet Wave some questions about his opinions and impressions as a first-time reader, then follow it up with some of my own discussion and commentary as someone who's read this series many times. We'll go through the same parts, such as character analysis, artwork, exposition, etc. So without further ado, let's get straight into the Arc 2 plot summary and background info on Team Spring. We open our second arc with a different sort of tone than Arc 1. Arc 1 was all about building up the mystery and some suspense about what possibly could have happened to everyone, while Arc 2 starts off with a group of characters who have already been awake for a couple of weeks. Their guide has already told them about the 7 Seeds project, unlike Botan, who elected to keep it a secret for a while. While some of the team still seems to have some trouble accepting this is a future Japan, just as Summer B did, most of them seem to be handling the situation much better. At least for now. Our opener is Hana rushing through what appears to be a different island than Summer B's while chased by gigantic insects trying to devour her. She says a countdown as she runs for her life, and we start to quickly piece together that this is part of a limited time plan as she runs into other members of Team Spring. Tsunomata creates a very tense, thrilling atmosphere at the start of this arc that will resurface multiple times throughout these 4 chapters. We are retold the background on the 7 Seeds project and why they were chosen, as well as a look into just how quickly Spring has collected resources and put them to use. Unlike Summer B, who tended to stumble around and get into trouble randomly without thinking more clearly about their surroundings, Spring has already built a large wooden raft, made their own pottery, figured out how to gather resources from the island well enough not to be eaten by insects, and quickly get to work on finding a source of fresh water. It's like the massive difference between these two groups are being shown to us, between these highly skilled, perfect individuals, and Summer B, who we soon find out to be the failures. However, in their defense, I will say that for future reference, they manage well enough in their own way. Like Team Summer B, this arc covers some of the anxieties and denials Spring has about this being the future, but that part seems largely contained to Hana. We will soon find out that she is Arashi's girlfriend, and she's just as worried about him as he is her. The rest of this arc focuses more on the survival and horror that comes with no longer being on top of the food chain, as well as sexism. Warning that I will be talking about an attempted rape later on. I'll include a trigger warning right before I get to it. I'll also have a warning on screen for an image of body horror at one point. Team Spring character breakdown. Same as before, we'll do first impressions and some analysis on each of them for this arc. I'll have Hockey give his opinion on the character, then give my point of view on them, as well as more information about them. If you recall what I said in my Arc 1 video, all of the teens in 7 Seeds, excluding Team Summer B, were selected based on their physical capabilities, their health, great fertility and genetics, having no crime present in their family's background, as well as their skills that could benefit a budding society and a name that fit a seasonal theme. Due to this, I'll be asking him slightly different questions than what do you think makes them a failure in society's eyes compared to last time. So, we're starting with Hana, because she's our first introduced one. So, did you like or dislike Hana?
I really like her, actually. I don't dislike Natsu, but I do like Hana more in her antagonist role. I did enjoy her perspective and presence a little bit more than Natsu.
Alright, so what are the differences between her and Natsu?
Well, first of all, she's not as shy as Natsu, and of course I'm not gonna put that against Natsu all too much because, like I said the last time, it's her character arc, and again, I like those types of characters, but Hana is not a shy person, and I guess I just enjoyed her narrating and stuff. I liked reading her narrations more than I did Natsu, I guess is the big part, because that's when I found myself getting annoyed at Natsu is during her internal narrations. I didn't find that at all with Hana. And also I enjoyed her energetic nature.
Do you think her and Natsu have any similarities?
She was talking to herself that kind of paralleled a little bit with Natsu. And I was like, this is maybe the parallels I'm thinking are more visual than what she's actually saying. This is like page 20 in chapter 6. This is very pretty and it reminds me of Natsu. Like the moments that she's had.
What trope do you think she represents if this was in a high school setting?
I think, didn't Arashi describe her as like a tomboy or something?
Yeah, I think...
Just adding on to what I was saying earlier, maybe I guess I just like protagonists like that more. Ones that are just like, what I'm trying to think, I don't think it has like a name. I'm trying to think of a character to compare her to. Usually not like the protagonisty ones though. Like what's that girl's name in Shikimori? That's like one of the best friends.
Oh, I don't know.
The sporty one with the choppy haircut.
I don't know.
Okay, fine. Well, I'll just stick with Tomboy then.
Why do you think she was selected for Project 7 Seeds?
She's outgoing, but in smart ways, I feel like. And she's usually right about most things.
She has good senses. She's been trained from a young age.
That's the kind of yeah, that's what I mean. She's street smart.
She has instincts.
Instincts, yes. She has good instincts. That's probably a reason why. Because not only is she not afraid to do something, but she has good instincts.
And then the last one is, what do you think about Hana and Arashi's relationship and connection so far?
I think I love them. I think I said this when I was trying to read 7 Seeds the first time, was that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this Adele, because if one of them die, I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna feel pain. A wife guy and a husband guy losing each other is one of the most painful things to read.
That is losing each other.
There was this one part also in chapter... This is still chapter 6, right? There was this one moment in chapter 6 where she was running through, like, swarm of huge bugs right here.
Yeah.
She was thinking about Arashi. Even though she was, like, brave enough to, like, run through them and stuff, she was, like, thinking about him, like, where are you? I need you. And he's like, oh, yes. I was like, it's a sweet little moment, even though she's being chased by a bunch of deadly bugs.
Wow, this is so sweet. She's currently minutes away from dying. Yeah, Hana is... in many ways, she's shown to be a different sort of protagonist than Natsu. So I actually like them both equally. I think they both go through very good character arcs. Both of them end up very different from the beginning to the end. I feel like Natsu more than Hana, but you can still see a lot of changes in Hana through the course of the series. Hana seems to come off as like more outgoing. She gets along with Fujiko a lot better, making friends, and she kind of starts taking on sort of a leadership role, even though she's like, I'm just making a suggestion. She's not afraid to put her thoughts out there. But they are similar in some ways, and I feel like it's something that I didn't pay as much attention to the first time I read it, because Hana does act so much differently outwardly that I didn't pick up on as much. But Hana even says it herself. Both Hana and Natsu have a streak of introversion. Hana mentions, for example, that when she was a kid she didn't have any friends, and even now she doesn't really have any friends. The only person that she could conversate well with is Arashi. She's like, he's the only person that looks at her straight in the eyes and will discuss things with her and have like a good solid conversation when she's frustrated. And that when she was a child, her teacher told her basically that she gives everybody a piece of her mind and has like a temper pretty much. And that's why she doesn't make any friends. So their similarity is that although I feel like Hana deals with it better in most situations, neither of them are very social people. They don't have friends outside of like Arashi.
Okay, yeah, now that you're talking about that, I can kind of see that, yeah.
Yeah, where Natsu is super introverted and doesn't say anything that really like if she's upset or something bothers her, she covers it up, doesn't say anything, or she tries to hide that opinion, like when she asked Semimaru to come with them even though she didn't actually care about him, just to make herself look better kind of in Arashi's eyes, or like feel like that's what she needed to do. Hana is like the direct opposite, where it's like if she's upset, if she's frustrated, or she thinks that something's wrong, she's gonna say it. She doesn't care about starting a fight. She doesn't care about any sort of aggression or friction in the group. She's gonna tell you straight up what the problem is, and that's what causes kind of like these fights and kind of like cracks between some of the relations in any group that she's in. And especially towards men who are fucking sexist assholes, because as Arashi said, there's always guys that are trying to force themselves on her because they're trying to overpower her, and the only way they know how to do that is physically. Basically, the people that cause the most problems with her are men like Yanagi. I mean, of course there's girls I'm sure she didn't get along with in the past too, but it's especially dudes, because that's like the sexism theme in this arc is like, she's the woman that's actually standing up and just saying like, this is my opinion, I think this is what we should do, don't touch me. Whereas Yanagi is super nice to like Chisa, and he's like, oh, you're such a good obedient woman. Why can't you be more like her?
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I feel like one of the reasons she'd be selected for this project is she's very skillful. She was taught, as a child, she mentions that her dad kind of took her out with him, taught her how to make a lot of things. Like, she made that boomerang herself.
Yeah.
She,
it was that cool little moment
yeah.
where, like, the mantis was, like, lifting her thing, and then she lifted, like, the little boomerang thing in the next panel. It was a cool parallel.
Yeah, and then, of course, she was taught a lot about, like, nature in general, which is why her instincts are so good. Her father taught her about, like, you know, she could kind of feel like the weather was messed up. It wasn't a good time to go sailing. She could just tell something was off, but because Yanagi was, like, pressuring her, and she was also kind of impatient about leaving, she didn't listen to those instincts and ended up badly. He told her about, like, the, I think it was a wasp laying eggs in a caterpillar. He taught her how to do rock climbing. She's been on the swim team, all kinds of things. She's actually a very athletic and skilled person that does super well in this situation, despite how much she hates it. And then, for her and Arashi's relationship, when I first read this, I was like, alright, is this a coincidence? Is she trying to play this off as, this is a total coincidence? Wow! There is more of a reason for it later on that kind of makes more sense, but the first time I was like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't invested in these two at all when I first read the series, like the first half. I was like, it's whatever. But by the end, I was like, man, love these guys. But I will say that in the anime, I think that they skipped like a lot of the opening shit, and they just immediately, I think they immediately show Hana just running away and being like, ah, Rashi! It's so bad. It is so bad. Like, they cut back and forth between summer and spring in like the first episode or two. That's like your first impression of Hana. She's running away and she's like, oh, Rashi, and I'm like, why did they do that to her?
Yeah, that's Yanagi directed that.
See, it's been like a couple years since I watched season 1 of the anime. It was so bad that I felt like, I cried a little bit and I felt like vomiting. That's how bad it was. So I might be remembering it a little bit wrongly, but I feel like they changed the scene when she pushes Yanagi off to his death on accident, because in the manga she's like, oh my god, I just fucking killed a man, and she's like standing there in shock. Jesus Christ, I just killed somebody. I didn't mean to do it. Holy shit.
It's okay, Hana. It's okay. You didn't kill a man at all. You killed a monster.
It's more like she cares more about the fact that, like, she's a murderer than that she killed him. She doesn't really feel that bad about killing him, let's be honest. She hated him. But I think in the anime, they might have changed it to where she says something like she's going to save him, or that she feels bad about it. And I was like, who the fuck? Hana does not feel bad. They took everything good about Natsu out to make her completely unlikable, and they took everything that made Hana different from, like, perfectly good, above everybody, like, morally protagonist, and made her, like, this completely unrealistic person.
She was upset that she couldn't take the fucker's wife out by her own two hands, personally.
It is kind of like a neat contrast, though, because you see it, like, early in the chapter. She's like, nah, if he did anything like that, I'd do away with him. Like, I'd kill him. And then she accidentally almost kills him, and she's like, holy shit, am I a murderer? I've talked about Hana and some of her similarities with Natsu already, but she really is a very interesting character to me. She appears outgoing and resourceful, so you'd think she'd be the popular type of character in a school setting, but she admits to having no friends except for Arashi. She also mentions that her father took her camping and taught her survival skills when he was younger, and that was her only happiness at that age. She met Arashi when they were 10, when he saved her from drowning. Since then, he's been the closest person she can trust and talk through any problems with. She'll also compare how others react to her versus how he handled things, and it seems like she might have had at least a little bit of dependence on him. It's interesting to see how her character grows not just by herself, but when it comes to her connection with others from now on. I remember reading a comment once long ago that tried to claim Hana as a Mary Sue, which is insane to me because plenty of her flaws are apparent from the start. Sure, she's a more palatable main character than Natsu due to her outspokenness and independence, but as the series goes on, you see just how much Hana's pride gets in the way of her relationships with others and into trouble as a whole. Haru. Did you like or dislike Haru, our little music man?
No opinion.
No opinion? I thought you'd be like, didn't like him.
He's annoying, but he's not on the level of annoying as Semimaru was to me, actually.
That's fair.
So,
high school trope is like harder for him. I feel like he's just like, you know, the dedicated music student, like someone who could have been a genius when you were young and then is still trying to keep that as they get older and no longer are. That sort of high school trope, almost more like a setting in like a career or drama manga. Why do you think he was selected for 7 Seeds?
Because he's a little smart boy, can play instruments. He was probably just picked because he's a prodigy. That's literally it. That's literally the reason why he was picked. Because if we're going out of the whole like, oh yes, this is the failure group, everyone else picked probably has something special about them in that regards in terms of notoriety. So the government was like, how can we do eugenics without eugenics?
For Haru, when I first read this manga at the beginning, I did not like him. I thought he was an annoying little shithead, just like you did. Towards the very end of this arc, when he goes in the water and he's like, how can I die? And then that part, and then when he's like shocked that so much time has passed, so he's not going to be able to do his piano recital. Those are like the 2 moments where I started being more interested in him, because that's when you start to notice the differences in what he says and his actions. Because he acts a lot of times as if he didn't care about like piano and stuff like that, or he's like, oh, I wasn't really that good, or oh, I don't care, blah blah blah. But then once he realizes all that time has passed, dude literally is like, how can I die? And then acting like he's gonna go drown himself in the ocean. Because he's like, that was my last chance to prove myself because my parents said I was lousy. He was a prodigy when he was a child, but then it's like, oh, well, now that I'm an adult, I'm just a normal dude. That's why he was like, now I'm just an average guy. So he's grappling with that because it's like, oh, this is what was expected of me all my life. And I think it's even mentioned that his whole family were good musicians, and now it's all just gone. So he's like, okay, what's my purpose now? I don't know if Hana pointed out this arc or a different one, that he always wears gloves, even though he was like, I don't care about playing piano. Oh, it just doesn't actually mean that much to me, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, and then you realize that like, all these times that he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that stuff, right? Be in the right place. No, I'm not gonna get my hands dirty. It's more like he doesn't want to hurt his hands because he's a pianist.
The little, ocarina moment was cute.
Yeah, that was cute. He was like, I'm a pianist, damn it. And then he plays like one little sound on the ocarina and then it's just like silence and then just starts playing it like, wait, this is not bad actually. God, I feel like he acts the most like a teen boy out of all of the teen boys in the series.
I think that's another reason why I wasn't like, I'm not like, oh yeah, fuck this guy, is because he's very realistically an annoying shithead teenager. Again, I think it's annoying, but not like how I'm looking at Semimaru, where I'm like, literally, what is wrong with you as a person? What is wrong with you as a human being?
I feel like we already mentioned pretty much everything about Haru. He's a pianist who was regarded as a prodigy when he was younger, but his parents claimed he was lousy now, and the audition he was preparing for was basically his last chance to prove himself, not only to others, but to himself. You can tell the concept of a child prodigy is a bit of a touchy subject for him when he picks on Momota sometimes, who is also considered a child genius. He basically tells Momota that even if he knows how to play chess or the definitions of tons of words, none of that is very useful in a world where survival is the most important thing. But when Fujiko stops him and asks what exactly he is good for, he says, I'm good for nothing. Haru, like Hana, truly has a lot of pride, but he also doesn't seem to fully believe in his worth or usefulness. He currently has a complicated relationship with music and even acts like he's about to drown himself at one point because he doesn't know what to do with his life anymore. Now that he doesn't have to prove his ability or feel forced to play piano anymore, what's next for him? What should he do? These are things he has to discover for himself. His key skill that helps his team the most is his sense of hearing, since of course it is very well trained as a musician. He is able to hear voices and sounds from very far away, even Hana's echoing when no one else could. We'll learn more about Haru in the next Team Spring arc. Alright, then we go to Yanagi. Let me guess. You didn't like him?
I'm glad he died. That was the best part of
Yep.
this series of chapters. I thought that his all the positive things I'm gonna say about him are me.
He died. He went through pain. He suffered.
Yeah, literally, I thought that was the coolest fucking thing on planet Earth. Things like ripping outside of him. Yeah, that was so cool. What was it? Mantises? Yeah, mantises ripping outside of him. So cool.
Yeah, I love that turn. It was just like, this man's gonna die and it's gonna be the worst fucking way, actually. Yeah, fucking hated this asshole. Cannot stand him. Trope, I don't know, shitty teacher, sexist, potential rapist who tried to until like the storm happened.
Yeah, no, literally, that's not Jesus.
Using power over the others, literally just like, I don't care who dies as long as at least one of you is alive. It was like, use the unconscious child as a bait to give to these insects. Like the only good thing he did was die for everybody else. That's the one good thing he did.
I was kind of worried that maybe they were gonna play it as like, oh, he was a good guy after all, but I'm glad they didn't like play into that a little.
Yeah, the only thing that Hana did was like, she was like, he's disgusting and I fucking hated him. But he was also someone that used his last strength to save others or whatever. But it was still preceded by, I hated him and he was gross. I was like, it's okay, Hana, you don't have to like, you don't have to be like, man, at least he sacrificed something. I would have been like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Fuck him. Yanagi. Honestly, I don't want to talk about Yanagi. As you can tell, I hate this guy. He's so sexist, selfish, and just a creep. He's constantly talking about Hana and Fujiko being stubborn, disobedient women, while Chisa is a good woman who listens to him. He'll tell Hana she isn't the leader, then repeat the exact same suggestions she had, as if he came up with them himself. He tells them to throw the sleeping child Hibari to the insects as a distraction to slow them down at one point, saying he didn't care just as long as one of them survived. Now I'm going to be talking about rape, and specifically about how it is addressed in the series. Please skip to the next chapter if you do not want to listen to this part. With Yanagi's disgusting presence was brought up the point that in a world without legal protections, women become much easier targets for physical abuse and rape. There are no courts, no prisons, and no laws to stop such a horrific crime. The only thing standing in the way is your own ability to fight back and those around you that you hope you can trust. Fujiko brings this up to Hana herself. Another key part to this issue with Yanagi is rape is never just about finding a person attractive. It is about power. It is completely taking away a person's free will and choice and forcing them to bend to your will as a show of power. And in Seven Seeds, what Yanagi and another attempt of rape against Hana both stem from is that they want control over her, because she's either a woman who does not listen to them, or to punish her, or both. She becomes a target for them to take their frustrations and anger out on. It is a very foul, horrendous, disgusting thing to do to any other human being regardless of gender, but I feel that Tamura does not throw this in for simple shock value, since you can see she is showing the sexism at the root of the issue. Fujiko. Did you like Fujiko or dislike her?
I thought she was pretty cool.
I like her. I love Fujiko.
I feel like she's the same type of character that Botan is, but better, because she's not an asshole.
I feel like out of all of the characters in Seven Seeds that I would want as like a best friend, I feel like Fujiko would be that character.
I can see that. I liked her conversations with Hana the best, because they were like getting a bond with each other.
Yeah, Fujiko's like a lot more easy to get along with. She's not really afraid to state her opinions either. She's very intelligent, like when she figured out, oh, there's an animal trail and the soil is damper here, so there must be water up ahead, and how can we figure out how to put this together? And then of course she used to want to be a doctor and an astronaut, so of course like she's been trained in like medical. That's probably why she was selected. You know, she's like has the medical background down pat for him. Yeah, she's just good. She doesn't get too much time to shine because like we're gonna go back to like Summer B after this. Tsunomata, do you like him?
I feel like he'll be better later, but I found him to be who called him a coward? I think it was
Fujiko.
Fujiko, yeah. Not like a bumbling coward, but like I just thought that like I felt like if anybody was gonna stand up to Yanagi at first, it was gonna be him, but he didn't really. Specifically when Yanagi slapped Hana. That's when I was like, okay, you know what? I don't really like this guy either. Because I thought that he was at least gonna stand up to it, but he didn't.
Yeah, Tsunomata, he's not bad. He's definitely not my favorite character, and he's not the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, same exact reasons you're saying.
Yeah. I feel like he'll be better later, but at the moment I'm like, why are you here? What is your damage, dude?
Yeah, I felt the same when it was like this Yanagi's literally like slapping women and like hurting Haru and being a total dick. And you're like, okay, Tsunomata, I think he's 18, they said. So he's like technically old enough to be an adult. And so you're like, oh, is the only other like full-grown man there, you're going to say something, right? Nah, he just lets it happen. One, he says like, oh, I'm really against violence. You can tell like the whole time, like he doesn't want the bugs to be killed.
That was bullshit.
I feel like part of it is like it's supposed to be like his priestly background thing where it's like, oh, I don't really like violence. I don't want the bugs to be killed. I don't want to get in a fight, this kind of thing. But then I feel like this might be a bit of a stretch. There is a bit of perpetuating the sexism, or just like Tomura kind of showing, yeah, this guy's being a sexist, horrible asshole. You think this other man's gonna stand up for him? Nah, he's just gonna sit there.
I see what you mean.
I could be pushing it. I could see
No. I feel like that's right. Because I guess you could say that since he is a priest, he has very traditional views, values. So.
Yeah, Tsunomata, from when we get to know him later, it feels like he really just doesn't give a fuck about most things in general. The one thing that I do like that he brings to the table is really great quotes and poems. That's about it. He's very good at setting the mood of a scene with all of these things that he knows that go great in the background. But he kind of annoyed the piss out of me this arc for your same reasoning. Oh, why do you think that they picked him for this project?
He's a priest, and he seems probably for the exact reasons why I'm annoyed with him. He's a very cultured individual, and I don't know, maybe preservation of that, because this is just Japan, right? This is just Japan's project, right?
Okay. I think it says that other countries.
Yeah, there's other countries,
but they're all like, Japanese in Japan.
Okay, yeah, a preservation of like that type of culture, basically.
Yeah, they kind of bring that up. Actually, a few arcs later, it's Japan trying to preserve part of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like it's partially we want to keep culture living even though Japan is dead, and then the other part is although the religions aren't comparable between like Christianity and that, I feel like if there was to ever be an American Seven Seeds, that they would also add, like, I don't know, like some kind of Christian or Catholic priest.
Yes, you're right.
Because, not just from, like, a religious standpoint, but also just because, like, if someone dies or if something close to death was to happen, that serves as, like, some sort of, like, religious comfort. It's, like, some comfort in that. They have nice words to say when someone's close to death, pretty much.
He sure did have words to say.
Oh yeah,
none of them were useful.
I do think the one line he said, Momota, or like Nobita, was like, wow, I haven't heard that line, it sounds great, what is it from? And he's like, it's used at funerals. I did like that part. That part always makes me laugh. I think it's something about finding positivity anywhere in any situation. Okay, what do you feel about Chisa?
Yeah, she's fine.
It's kind of funny that I felt the same about her as Hana said, where she's like, I'm frustrated, I don't like her.
I don't want to shit on her, because, I don't know, she was like, I was taught to be obedient, but I'm not an idiot or something. And I'm like, okay, honey, sit down then. I mean, if you're not going to do anything, then just sit down. Because, like, I sympathize with that mindset, but also I'm not going to pretend like it isn't a little annoying.
Yeah, I feel that. And then it makes more sense when they mention that, like, she's from a family that has a lot of ministers. So we go back to the whole raised with traditional values. So that was sort of her thing, being like, men who are, like, domineering and shit, I don't mind them as long as they're skilled and actually are good leaders, but you suck, so... But yeah, it still is kind of annoying where you're like, ah, don't put up with it. Don't put up with it. She gets better too as the series goes
Yeah, I
on.
can imagine. I can imagine.
But then also she's like skilled at making pottery and
Taking care of the child that's unconscious.
yeah.
Let's talk about the child that's unconscious. It's
Alright,
an
Hibari.
unconscious child. That's it. That's
Hibari.
it. That's the end of the conversation there.
I'm like, did you like Hibari? You're like, well, she was unconscious.
It's an unconscious child. What do you? Yeah, you know what? I really like the arc where the child was unconscious.
And we
my
almost
favorite
threw her to the
arc.
bugs. Did she remind you of anything?
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? An unconscious child? She reminded me of unconscious child. Yes. Wait. Wait. Is that an actual question?
Yeah. Did the way she was drawn make you think of anything?
Hold on.
If it didn't, that's fine.
No.
That's okay.
What? Like a character we've seen already or something?
Yes.
The other child in the other group? Because they're both children?
I mean, if that's all you got, it's fine. It'll come up later.
Yeah. I'm a failure, though.
No,
I'm
it's
so
fine.
sorry.
It's fine. I was just...
I'll probably come back to it and be like, I'm a fucking idiot or something.
Okay, what do you think of Momota, or the one they call... Yeah, his nickname comes from the name of the kid from Doraemon.
He's fine. I mean, I don't really have any opinion of him that much. I mean, he's a child.
He's a sweet
I
kid.
mean, he's not an annoying child, which is very good.
Yeah, he's a sweet kid in this project because he's a genius, but then you have Haru be like, oh, what are you gonna do? Play chess? What is that gonna do for you here?
You know what? That's funny. That's comical, even.
Let me just go straight into... Did you have any favorite panels or scenes in this arc?
My favorite part of the arc was the ending of it when Yanagi died. No, but like actually, if we're talking about like panels and art wise, I thought it was really pretty, especially the scenes with Pianist Boy.
Haru?
Yeah, I thought when he got the ocarina and started playing it, I thought those were really pretty. And then also, I really like how the like mantises were depicted in the art. It was just so like raw and scratchy. It was like actually scary looking.
My first one is where she draws panned out like far away view of the outcrop and just the ocean. The second one is when she's being chased by all of those beetles. That is an awesome, just long panel shot. Third one is when she actually finds the water and it's zoomed out and you just see like this whole ecosystem of giant insects. And then of course, like you said, like the mantis appears and just grabs another bug out of the air and like snaps at it and tries to eat it right in front of her.
I really like the monster art.
The one panel or page you posted of Hana where she's like, if we don't fight, we don't get water, and that's how it is here, and it's like zoomed in. So like a lot of good pages of her expressions. Oh, the other one I posted where it's like they realized that they ended up making a complete circle and are back to the island, and you just see all of the black insects and the eyes in the dark. So good. So good. But yeah, like you said, all of the mantises bursting through his skin was such good, like, use of body horror.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I enjoyed reading this arc a little bit more than the starting chapters of the summer group, probably mostly due to Hana as a protagonist.
Hana as a protagonist, the insects are just overall really good. The body horror, the build-up, when originally you don't know it's like insects that they're running from, because she's just like, those guys keep us on the water, those guys are gonna find them, and you're just like, what's those guys? And then all of a sudden these giant fucking insects appear and you're like, oh fuck. What did you think about the pacing?
I enjoyed the pacing as well. I think I enjoyed it more, again, because of probably Hana as a protagonist. I'm glad that Yanagi died when he did. I think I would have not continued reading if he lived any longer.
Yeah, I personally think the pacing for this arc was very well done. This one has a stronger sense of urgency compared to the first arc, but I don't think there's any scenes that I would remove or taken out. If anyone listening to this has their own opinions, whether good or bad, agreeing, disagreeing, we would love to hear them. We love seeing all of the very excited comments in the previous video. So thank you for sharing and thank you for listening. Hope you had a great time. I'm going to be trying to get Arc 3 out hopefully soon, along with several other videos I'm working on. So have a good day. Thank you once again for listening.